Hello, good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here again in this amazing city of Bogota. It was just a few months ago that my wife and I sailed all the way to Cartagena from Europe and had a fantastic visit. And we saw for ourselves the incredible new infrastructure in Cartagena, the beating heart of trade for the region. And before we get into AI, I have been asked by the chairman to give some reflections on what we have already heard about the future of infrastructure. Of course, we know infrastructure is absolutely fundamental to growth. I think of Dubai. I was there recently with the Prime Minister's office, and at Dubai, it was nothing but desert. But they knew they had no real oil wealth. They knew the future of Dubai was one word: infrastructure. You build the roads, the power, the electricity, everything, and people will come. All I can say is this: Colombia has fantastic natural resources. If Dubai can do it, Colombia can do it 1,000 times more. So how? So in the EU, the maths we use has to be justified. We have to show a return. And we reckon that we see around 9% of the spend of the infrastructure as an increase in GDP each year. Of course, the government would like 9% back in tax. They don't. It's only about 2%. But still, if we're using private partnership as well, we get there. But there is one word, of course. You know this, I do. One single word, which will drive the future of the Colombian economy, perhaps more than anything else. There is one word which will shape every part of infrastructure demand for the next 100 years. Of course, it's demographics. And you show me the demographics of a town or city, I show you its future. We have just been hearing about the indigenous communities. And I promise you, the future of every single indigenous community is demographics. It's shaped by that, and here we see the most extraordinary things. Because demographics also tells us who will move and at what speed they will start to move. And of course, this creates the demand, which is why we are here. Now, here is the most exciting thing for us today. Look at the difference between Europe, where I live, and your country. Colombia is so young, such a huge increase here, a bulk of 20 to 40-year-olds. Compared to Italy, Italy is dying. This is over 65. Really big problem. There's hardly a single person alive in Colombia over the age of 70. Huge difference. Actually, Bogota, even more. Bogota is so young. Extraordinary. Now, AI can help us to model some of this, because the long-term future of Bogota is related to the birth rate. And to try and work out what's happening over the next 10 years is really important. But here is the other really big piece of good news. This is so huge, it almost dwarfs everything else. And it's, of course, the cost of wages. I was in Mexico City last year, and on the very day that President Trump launched his new tariff regime, and the markets were terrified. But I said to them, look at this. Even if Donald Trump was to increase the cost of Mexican products by 25%, would it really make much difference? Actually not. Because in Mexico, the annual wage is $20,000 a year. In the United States, $63,000 a year. But look, in Colombia, we have $5,000 a year. So you are incredibly competitive against Mexico. And Mexico is incredibly competitive against the United States. The only issue that holds the country back is infrastructure. Why? Because if we can't get the product from a factory in Bogota to the port in Cartagena, it's never getting to America. But once it's on the ship, the extraordinary thing is, it is almost the same cost to take it to Panama Canal or to San Diego or to Japan or China. You just keep on going. I know, I sail on a boat, okay? Water is so efficient. And we'll come back to the importance of ports later. But I just say, when you put these two things together, the demographics, the low age of the population, the huge growth of younger adults, and low cost, you can see that if we can complete the infrastructure vision, then this country is set to grow. Put up your hands if you're excited about that. Oh, you are depressed today. I know there's an election coming, but still, let me see a show of hands if you're excited about that. Let's fix it. Let's put in the infrastructure so that people can get the wages. We can export the product. We can see the economy grow. We can create the wealth. We can create the opportunities for the smallest communities. Okay, now, we know the facts. We know we need to see 3% of the economy probably every year. But look, my purpose being here is not to tell you what you know, but to challenge what we know, to make us think differently. Let me give you an example. Digital. Okay, so 25% are not online. Can we fix it quick? Yes, we can. Can we do this at zero cost? Yes, we can. Do we do it like this? No. Well, listen, I don't want to be rude. If you are in the company which has signed a contract like this, I say, good luck. I hope you make a lot of money. You probably will. But it will not sort the whole problem. Why? Well, we think of what happened last Saturday. We think about the forces in various countries. My question is this: how much does it cost to buy a wire cutter from the market and to start cutting wires? First question. Secondly, how long would it take to cut the same cable 3 times over 1,000 kilometers? Third question, how long to find out where it has been cut and to repair it? I'm just saying that you can approach infrastructure in the traditional way, and we say, oh yes, we lay cable, and forget the other things that are taking place in our world. My wife and I now have on our boat, we have now gone around the whole world. We did it in stages over 8 years. We have got back. But my wife and I have on our boat Elon Musk technology. We have 200 megabits per second. The technology costs $300. The cost of data is almost zero. For $300, we can put one of these on the top of a school in an indigenous community. The payback period for $300 would be what? How many weeks? Put up your hands if you think if you think of an internet cafe connected to this. So a business raises $300, opens a cafe, and we get bandwidth, and the school gets it for free, the government gets it for free, the clinic gets it for free, but everybody else pays a little. Put your hands up if you think they might get all their $300 back in 12 months. Yes. So it's free. It's free. It's free. Do they need any money? No. Put up your hands if you think this is a good business opportunity. Absolutely. Put up your hands if you think this cost is going to go down. It'll have halved in the next 5 years. Put your hands up. Yes. Okay, so I'm saying problem solved. Do we need an internet strategy for remote rural communities? Yes. But actually, what we really need is an entrepreneurial business startup internet strategy, right? And then the problem is solved. Actually, this presentation is full of examples of things that cost nothing. I hope you are pleased about this. Things that we can do quickly, don't cost anything. By the way, just going back, the reason why this works is AI. AI powers the satellites. He owns 3/4 of all the satellites in space that are working. They are only 300 kilometers, 400 kilometers above the land of Colombia. They travel so fast that AI has to drive. It's like driving around the motorway, overtaking a lorry. They are constantly changing direction around the Earth. When they fire the rocket is controlled by AI. It comes down by AI. It lands on a ship, which is also controlled by AI. So it's a fantastic AI story. Okay, now I know that infrastructure is complex. We have heard this all morning. Frequent scope changes over budget, quality, local politics, opposition, cancellations. I know many issues. Actually, in every country, one of the greatest issues is the first. It's that the scope keeps changing. A good example, you're building a motorway. The specification was signed off 10 years ago for 2 lanes in one direction, 2 lanes in the other. You have built 3/4 of the tunnels, and now the government has decided it must be 3 lanes. So we go back to re-drill those tunnels. Incredible increase in cost. So I'm just saying that's one of the greatest things we can do with AI is to get the spec right, get the demand correct, and fix it so we save perhaps half the cost of the entire project just by that. Okay. Now, AI will certainly transform all of this, but I promise you it will not fix everything. Okay. So just a couple of remarks about AI generally. This image here was made in 60 seconds on my iPhone, but it cost more energy than charging my iPhone last night. This is a huge problem. Digital power costs 4% of the global power today. AI will double this over the next 15 years. Huge. Because of this, Microsoft has become a nuclear power. It's buying up power stations because it has no other way to drive AI. So AI contributes to solving problems, but it is creating infrastructure problems. AI will be 1 billion times smarter in 2060 than today. So whatever I tell you today, multiply by 1 billion times in terms of how it could help you. Here is someone whose brain is already connected into AI. It's communicating in 2 ways. He is called Noland. He has had a terrible accident. He is paralyzed from the neck down. But now he has a chip in his head, and he can control computers by thinking alone. He is just part of the future. Last week, I was with 800 surgeons in my country. 1 in 5 of all operations are already assisted by a robot in my country. By 2035, it will be 95% of all operations. And it looks a bit like this. Here are the needles. They are moving. This is the magnified version. And the AI is helping the surgeon to see cancer. You see the cancer coming up, green. This tells him where to cut. Now, this is like power steering in your car, okay? So the surgeon sits here, the robots are here, okay? My question is, can we tell the surgeon to have a cup of coffee? You're not so sure. Okay, he said, no, not on my body. Okay. Actually, I asked the surgeons. I said, Tommy, if it's you, your body, you need an operation. By what date would you be happy to become unconscious, for the surgeon to sit having a cup of coffee, and for the AI to control the robots? And do you know what they said? They said for some small operations, maybe 2 years. For slightly bigger ones, 5. For many procedures, maybe 10. I want to tell you this story because it helps us to see the speed of change. So what about infrastructure? I have already talked about AI fixing the demand, making the right forecast, AI calculating business case. Everything I'm telling you about AI from now on is already here. I am not telling you future. I'm saying the tools are here now. They can be applied tomorrow in your project and at low cost. Be very careful not to build your own AI systems. Our world is too small. You would not build an operating system for a new model of mobile phone. Which is more difficult, AI or mobile phone? Okay, don't do it. Stick to things which are simple with a clear advantage. Things that we can do already are make a much better design, which is compliant, safe. We can do cost calculations, I will show this, bid analysis. That is deciding who wins the bid. You know the tool my friends are using already for this? Copilot. It costs nothing. A friend of mine was assessing 3 huge building projects. One building project, 3 contracts. How does she decide which company will win? So she took these bids. Each bid is 200 pages long. So she gave them to Copilot, which is free on her Microsoft machine. And she simply said one sentence. She said, please tell me which is the best bid and who should win the whole contract. About 10 minutes later, Copilot came up and said, here are the 3 bids ranked, and these are the reasons why I choose to award this company. She was shocked because it was almost right. It would have been a good decision. She thought the other one was a little bit better. But guess what? Copilot is reading her emails. So Copilot then learned from the decision she made, because she said, I'm delighted to award the contract. You have won it for the following reasons. Copilot is listening. How quickly do you think it will be before Copilot is as good as she is? 1 week, 1 month, 1 year? It's happening very fast. Here's the secret. Fixed problem. AI has a solution, and the tool is free. I like that. Okay, so bid analysis, quality monitoring, we'll look at all of these things, fraud detection and so on. Okay, roads. Roads, of course, are probably the single most important thing in a country that has very little resource, in an area with little resource. If you have a road, you can go to school. You can go to a university. Actually, I travel a lot in Africa. After 8 hours, I reached a small village, and all I found was goats and chickens. I had traveled from Kampala, the main capital city. I said, what happens to all of your eggs? They were very sad. I said, tell me, what do you do with your eggs? And they say, well, we sit at the road and we wait for a lorry to come, and then we put them on the lorry. I say, fine. And do you get much money? No. Why don't they pay you properly? Because most of the eggs are broken when we get there, because the road is so bad. And what happens to your goat meat? Very sad. Because it takes 6 hours to get there, and it's already gone off in the heat of the sun. So, with Chinese help, there is a new road. It now takes 30 minutes, and all the villagers are very happy. Every egg is being eaten in Kampala, and the goats are doing very well. I'm just saying simple things, huge impact. Now, we know that there's these huge projects going on already, but here is an example of AI. It's a British example by Hypertunnel, okay? So they needed to drill a pedestrian tunnel underneath a motorway. So the robots, the AI robots, they drill all kinds of cores, and then they map out a digital model of the geology. And then the robots go left and right, and they drill more tunnels, and they fill these tunnels with special material to keep the soil hard. Then they can drill. They drill the inside out. The robot drills the inside out. The shell is already strong, and then a human being finishes it. It's fantastic, and it's here now, working very well. Here is another example. AI learns. You don't need to tell it what to do. So if you put a camera on the front of every government truck and every bus, and you connect it to AI, and you put a vibration sensor as well, then AI will learn. You don't have to say, this is a road. AI knows. You don't have to say, this is a pothole which needs repairing. The small ones don't need repairing. Just let AI watch, because every day they will watch on the bus, the same bus going over the same hole. And after 6 weeks, they see the hole is so big, now the traffic is going around. And then after the 7 weeks, they see a huge traffic jam because someone has fallen into the hole. So I'm saying this is fantastic. It costs nothing. The technology is here. You can schedule repairs using AI. It saves a lot of money. Same with rail. It's the same principle. Yes, of course, we have huge projects to build, but what about maintaining? In my country, many people die every year walking down the tracks looking for problems. Okay? And then they don't hear, and the train comes, bang. AI is doing this now. All we did, we put a camera on the front of the train. And at 100 kilometers an hour, the track is mapped. Every 15 minutes, it's mapped again. If any early problem, it's seen by AI. It gets reported, prioritized, the system learns. So, ports. Now, okay, here is fantastic news for Cartagena. In 2100, most trade will still be by sea because it's so cheap. And we know that because this country has ports, you will grow 40% more on average than a nation which has no port. It's extraordinary, the power of sea trade, so long as you have roads to connect to the port. Okay, so I can tell you this. If you can reduce the shipping time, that is me ordering something from eBay or something and coming from Bogota all the way to UK. If you can reduce the shipping time by 1 week, the trade can go up by up to 26%. We spend a week fiddling around with pieces of paper in many countries. Customs, staff, health, safety, regulation, everything. AI can completely automate this. Dubai has got very good at it. The tools are here. It's a fantastic thing. Now, smart cities, yes, we have lots of views of smart cities, but here is the point. On the left-hand side is a model in Riyadh of a new city, but it was built by hand. On the right-hand side, we have a video made by AI of the same model, and you can walk into an office, you can go up the lift, you can drive around the streets. It's entirely virtual. Nothing exists. AI has designed it. And of course, with that, the power, the sewage, everything is put in there. Now, here is another example of history. I'm not telling you the future. This is already here. If you want to build a new hospital, until recently, I sat on the board of one of the largest construction companies in the world. Our idea of a single contract is 50 new hospitals in Peru. That's a typical contract, okay? So big scale, and we were already using these tools 5 years ago. You just say, you want a new hospital. You say to AI, I want a new hospital. AI says, give me a clue. What do you like? Say, here are 2 hospitals in Bogota and 1 in Cartagena that I like. You don't even need to say why. You just say, I like them. And AI will work out some common features. And then you say, design something. Oh, by the way, this is a map. This is the site. This is the geography. And this is the power supply. Please design. And within perhaps 15 minutes, you will have some concept. You have maybe even a shape, maybe even a brand name, a suggested brand name connected with the local community. You will have the right number of beds, the right number of clinics, the right number of laboratory rooms, the right number of other things. But most importantly, you press one more button, and it will then strip away each wall and it will work out how many meters you need of lighting cable, how many lights in the room of this size, what is their spacing, how powerful are they, where is the air conditioning duct going to go, how many meters of pipe, where is the power coming from, where is the emergency power generation controlled from, where is the medical school going to have its facilities, everything. And then cost it. You press one more button, and then it costs it. Because it knows an allowance per square meter for this kind of structure. And now you have the specification. Because it's compliant. It fits all the regulations. You know it is like the best type of hospitals in Bogota. You know the local people will love it. And it costs you virtually nothing to design. Okay, so once you've done this, you have another huge advantage. You see, it means that AI has the architect's drawings and the structural engineer drawings. Now, something very exciting can happen because we can go a stage further. We can imagine how you get these great big, how do you build it? In what stage? Do you have to put the boiler in first and then build the walls? How do you lower it in by helicopter? How do you build it? So AI will work out the process for building, the order, and AI will give you complete quality control. This is really exciting. So you if you are an engineer, every night you walk around the hospital, okay? And imagine it's me. I've got a VR, virtual reality headset on, and I'm seeing the walls, I'm seeing these pipes. But I'm seeing in green any pipe that is in the correct place, and I'm seeing in red any pipe that is not in the right place. So within seconds, I'm seeing that maybe the electrician made a big error at 4 p.m. today. 6 p.m. this evening, we have identified that this particular fire cable is 3 meters in the wrong place. This saves tens of millions of dollars. Why? Because you can go straight back to the contractor by text, by WhatsApp. 5 minutes later, you say, your electrician, back tomorrow. These are the problems. If we don't, the following day, the carpenter covers the problem up with a panel, and we don't discover the issue maybe for 5 years, and the contractor has already gone bust. So really, really fantastic if you are wanting to reduce risk in big projects. Here is another example, again using cameras. Common theme here. Cameras tracking the whole site, and they can see if people are not wearing helmets, or they're not wearing the jackets, or they've wandered into a dangerous area, and they can map the individual to the contractor, so they can score the contractor and say, this contractor is dangerous. 50% of the accidents are happening because they're not wearing helmets, because they're not this. Really, really important. We can use AI in other ways in smart cities. So, for example, when we have heavy rains here, there's a lot of flooding. We need different amounts of power in the waste system to cleanse the water. If there's no rain, you need a lot of oxygen. Okay. AI can predict more accurately these changes in weather and help to adjust the power in the sewage system. AI can help with recycling. We are getting up to 95% of material recycling using AI cameras to direct the picking machines. Power. We've already heard a lot about this. Just a couple of comments. AI is already being used for demand forecasting, to power smart grids. We've heard a lot about hydropower. We know that hydropower alone could be increased in size by 8 times in theory, but there are other things. We've heard about wind, and most of the wind is in the very windy area. Sheila and I struggled in our boat to get around Colombia. In the north here, it's so windy, really, really dangerous for a boat. But we got round, but the point is, the wind is actually in the wrong place. For us to create a huge wind farm there, we have to take, as you know, a massive risk in terms of building infrastructure to take it to big cities. For me, the big excitement is the area we've heard about, solar, because of the collapse in prices. And I can guarantee that solar will grow 30% every year across Colombia over the next 10 years, and maybe even faster. It will go everywhere, not just for isolated communities, but every office, every factory, every home. 50% of EU power is already global solar, and we don't have the same sun as you. Okay, we are too far north. But this is the really exciting thing. Look at this. This is a bit crazy here, but this is zero. Above this red line, people are paying for power, okay? Below the red line, we have an emergency. We're making so much wind, so much solar, we are having to pay people to take the power away. And this is producing a whole new strategy of where individual consumers are being paid to turn on their washing up machine at 1 o'clock in the middle of the day. Say, no, it's free. It's better than free. You usually pay us, let us say, 30 cents per kilowatt hour, but we will pay you $2. If you will turn your washing machine on at 1 p.m., we will pay you $2. Say, really? Yes. Yes, really. And this is just the beginning. It's a huge thing, a complete reversal of energy markets. They change from selling energy to trading it. So it's in and out all the time, balancing, which is why we have 1 billion smart meters already globally, and that's going to rise pretty soon. Now, I'm going to finish with this. 2 easy ways for government to make a lot of money for the economy without spending a penny and improving infrastructure, okay? This one delivers the equivalent of 10 nuclear power stations in 3 or 4 years at zero cost. This is how it works. I'm telling you history. It's already happened. It's happened in France. Someone said to the prime minister, just sign this, just sign. I said, what is it? It's just a new law. Yes, but what does it do? Don't worry, it will deliver as much new solar as 10 new nuclear power stations. Well, come on, how? It's easy, Prime Minister. You have just said that every owner of a car park with more than 80 spaces must cover them with solar panels. And the Prime Minister says, yes, but people will hate this, because where will they get the money? In the letter you send out, it says, please note, if you would like financial help, please call this number. Say, what's the number? It's the bank. The bank is so excited about this. What is the payback cost of solar panel? 5 years, 6 years? So you go to the car park owner, the bank goes to the car park owner and says, sign here. Say, what am I signing? Free solar. It's what? Free solar. Sign here. What does it say? It says, you will give me all the power from your car park for 5 years. After the 6th year, you can have it all. And for the next 25 years, you make money. He says, I sign immediately. So the banks are happy. The car park owners very, very, very happy because they are going to get free solar. The government is incredibly excited and they win the election. Okay, so I'm just saying there are many examples here where we can change infrastructure at almost zero cost just by being a little bit agile, like we were with the idea of satellite internet. So here's one more, and then I finish. Okay, so Germany decided to do the same trick with little solar panels. They changed one law, which means that Lidl and other places like OXO can sell 800 watts of solar power for $400, and you just plug it into the wall, and you forget all about it. It gives you free power, and if you have a smart meter, you may even sell some automatically. Within 2 years or 3, 1 million people have installed these things. Now my country is always behind. Okay, they're behind France on the car parks. Now they're behind the Germans on the solar panels. So in June we are also changing our law, and Lidl will be selling solar panels, and we will have 500,000 new solar panels for nothing, no cost to the government, but it's very helpful to the national grid. Fantastic idea. Could we do it here? Put your hands up if you think you could do something like that here. You could! Do you think we will? It's going to cost nothing. Do you think the government might sign such a piece of paper? Of course. Why not? Why not? So if you want to know the future, look at what's working already, okay? And you multiply it up by 50 times. Finally, I come back to a warning. I've said this already. Keep it simple, please. A survey of 6,000 CEOs in the US, Australia, Germany, and my country found that only 5% said that AI had done anything positive. Why? Because they were spending huge money on new AI projects with masses of consulting, great vision, but poorly thought through. The answer, the things I've shown you which work, they're all the same. It's like the surgeons in the operating theater. It's specific, limited, using technology we have that is proven to work, that costs not a lot, and we can play with it, and we will learn, and we will get better. This is my advice. And finally, AI will eventually be running infrastructure in this country, but be very careful. I spent some time with our sponsors, FDN, with your fantastic AI team, and I commend the work that your team are doing. And they are already developing agents to help you in some of these things I have already shown you, okay? They have 2 people on their team just looking at cybersecurity. Why? Because cybersecurity is costing our world $8 trillion a year. If cybercrime were an economy, a nation, it would be the 3rd largest economy in the world, and soon it will be driven by AI. Okay, so how do we conclude this? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there is absolutely no doubt that infrastructure powered by AI will transform many areas of this country. It is also the case that small changes in government policy, costing nothing, could have huge impact to help this process. And we heard some of that earlier in the panels. And finally, let's be playful, creative, agile, innovative, and use the tools that we have and make experiments at low cost and see how rapidly we can change the world for the better. So I wish you every success in this exciting season for the future, I believe, of your wonderful country. Thank you.